What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show today. If you've ever been frustrated by not having access for good hunting or fishing or other things, shed hunting, camping, walking around, we might have a solution for you. On today's show, we've got Nic De Castro. He is from LandTrust, landtrust.com. And landtrust.com is basically like Airbnb for property, hunting property, fishing property. Really cool the way that he's built this up, and they're located in Bozeman, Montana, and we got Nic on the show right now, so we're going to have a great conversation with him. Hopefully you'll learn something, maybe go set up a free account like I'm going to do right now.
I'm Nic De Castro, and this is the Rowland podcast.
Nic De Castro, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in Bozeman?
I am in Bozeman. There's snow on the ground.
Yes. Winter has arrived.
Yeah.
We've got the hot seat questions we're going to ask you to get to know you a little bit better, and also maybe have a little bit of fun. So you ready to roll? It's kind of an either or. You just say whichever you prefer. You ready to roll?
Let's do it.
Spinning rod, conventional, or fly rod? None.
Both. Oh gosh, that's such a hard one. If it was gun to my head, probably spinning rod, conventional.
Okay. Freshwater or saltwater?
Saltwater.
Would you have a reptile as a pet?
No.
One of your favorite bands?
Led Zeppelin.
Great choice. Instagram or Twitter?
I don't have social.
Okay, even better. One thing you're afraid of? Social media, probably.
Yeah. Grizzly bears.
Yeah, good thing. Office, friends, or Parks and Rec?
Office.
Good choice. One piece of technology you rely on heavily other than your phone?
Ooh. Digital technology?
Yeah. Any kind of technology.
Well, a Leatherman is technology. I use my Leatherman like 5 times a day, right?
Okay.
It's a little bit more of a tool, but
Yeah.
I'll take my Leatherman.
I'll take it. Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Coffee.
Mountains or beaches for vacation?
Well, I live in the mountains, the beaches.
Yep, that's how it always works. Favorite fishing movie or TV show?
I like the Salty True guys.
Okay. Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Summer.
Favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Oh. You'd have to go with Hulk Hogan, I guess.
Especially from California.
Maybe
right?
maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, but that was like Hulk Hogan's thing. He was like the California guy. He was out there in the sunshine, taking your vitamins, saying your prayers. If you could have a fishing or hunting themed superpower, what would it be?
It'd be completely silent.
Ooh.
From the stalking perspective.
Nice. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Country, classic rock, or rap?
Country.
Wow, but Led Zeppelin's your favorite band.
I know, it's a hard one. You're filling one option.
Yeah, I know. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
River, lake, or backcountry? It's kind of a saltwater question. River or lake?
River.
The best catch or kill in your career?
Bonefish in the Bahamas, all DIY.
Nice. Where was that?
It was on I forget which island it is in the Bahamas, one with the big resort on it.
Nassau?
But actually, Nassau. I've done the Bahamas a couple of times, and I've never had a guide. Just watched a bunch of YouTube and figured it out and caught some bones.
That's awesome, man. A movie that makes you laugh?
Dumb and Dumber.
Most people say that. Text or calls?
Calls.
The last book you remember reading or your favorite?
Oh, I listen to a lot of books.
Yeah, that counts.
I just was rereading / listening to oh my God, I'm gonna forget the name of it right now. I'm gonna have to look at my phone. Holy cow. It's a Hemingway book, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now.
Hemingway's
But
a good choice.
yeah,
East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast.
An early fishing or hunting memory, which you already referenced, that
Hmm.
made you a lifetime hunter or fisherman.
Yep, dove hunting with my dad in the deserts just north of the Mexican border, 115-degree heat. Uh, being a bird dog, getting his doves for him.
Yeah. A place you would like to visit that you haven't been yet.
Oh, I really want to go down to like La Paz. I want to do uh, I want to do a bunch of fishing down there.
Nice. Um, Android or iPhone?
iPhone,
Audio, paper, or Kindle?
audio,
Chocolate or vanilla?
vanilla.
And a piece of advice that has served you well.
Mm, man, like pride comes before a fall.
Pride comes before a fall. Good.
Hmm.
And who told you that?
Well, I think the Bible originally, but
Yeah.
my dad seemed to remind me of that too.
Dads have a way of doing that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I just met Turner and my other son Hayden that are both living in Bozeman right now, and we went to Saskatchewan for hunting. Well, it was
Oh,
Saskatchewan and Alberta. It was a 12-hour drive for them out of Bozeman, and we got up there. The weather was amazing. We had fantastic weather. It was almost like Indian summer, really. And
mm.
the last day, the day we left, winter arrived there. So probably not far for you in Bozeman.
Yeah. Last week we got down into the single digits and definitely had some snow. Were you guys waterfowl or
Yeah,
deer?
waterfowl, duck and
Awesome.
goose. It's amazing up there. The hunting in the South is has been traditionally pretty good. Okay, you got a place like a hotbed place like Arkansas. Stuttgart, Arkansas says they're the duck hunting capital of the world. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's an eye opener when you
Yeah.
hunt here for a while, and somehow we've just kind of gotten out of the flyway in the South. I think a little bit, and depending on the year, you'll have more ducks than others, but man, they are squarely within it up there, and
That's
it
what I've
is
heard.
it is incredible. I mean, just I don't know. It's like a dream. Like you're watching 1,000 birds work into your decoys, and they're not
Dude.
all going to get in there, but whew, it's pretty awesome. So I had my 85-year-old dad, and I watched him a couple of times. He just unloaded his gun, put his head back, and just watched the birds. It was awesome. It was so
That's so
awesome.
cool.
It was so awesome. So you must have a history of hunting and fishing all the way back to your childhood, I would imagine, just looking at what you're doing with LandTrust.
Yep, absolutely. So I grew up, I was born in Southern California in a place called Laguna Beach. Most people are like, there's hunting in Southern California? There definitely was. I don't know if I could vouch for it now, but yeah, I grew up predominantly bird hunting. So we always had Brittany Spaniels. We grew up hunting essentially valley quail, some chucker too. Occasionally we'd get up into Central Valley and hunt pheasants and shoot some ducks as well. But quail was kind of our specialty, and I grew up surfing and fishing out in the ocean, kind of inshore stuff. Grew up spearfishing from the beach just with a Hawaiian sling. I've actually never used a spear gun. I'd like to, but lobster diving, all of that stuff. So yeah, hunting and fishing since I was very, very young. It's like I think I've said before. I think my earliest memory is like on a dove hunt with my dad, like 3.5 years old, something like
That's
that. It was
awesome.
115 degrees out in the desert, and just being his bird dog.
That's awesome. You must be pretty hardy with the being able to spearfish and surf in the Pacific right there. I know where Laguna Beach is. I did an event down at not Coronado, but down that way.
Like
And
Point Loma area. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to remember I can't believe I'm spacing the name of this place. It was one of my favorite little towns down there. Um, I don't know,
Carlsbad, La Jolla.
just south of Carlsbad. Um,
Okay, yeah. Del Mar, some of these places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a cool little Encinitas.
Encinitas, yeah,
Encinitas.
I was gonna
So I
say.
love
Yeah.
Encinitas. It's a cool little
Yeah.
place, and Sealfit used to be there, and I went out there and did this thing with those guys, and it is very cold. That water is
Yeah.
super cold, but they have those cool fire rings, and they built fire
Mm-hmm.
out there. It was awesome. I
Bonfires.
mean,
Yeah.
God, just love that whole area all the way up. You get to about Huntington Beach, and
Yep.
then it starts to change as you get a little closer to LA. That's my experience anyway. I don't have a lot of experience out there, but man, I love that Southern California area. That is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, they definitely have. There's been a ton of development. I haven't lived there since high school. I just turned 36, so half my life ago. Um, uh, but yeah, it was a really cool place to grow up, especially when I did, because there was a lot less people. And yeah, the water. uh, People are often surprised, like, oh, Southern California, you go to the beach. Like, yeah, the water's cold
Oh, it's
most of the time.
cold.
You'll get south swells that come up from Mexico, and you'll get up in the low 70s
Yeah.
occasionally, but no, you're wearing wetsuits most of the time, and yeah, it's chilly.
What kind of fish could you spearfish for off the beach?
Mm. I mean, there's so many species. We'd spearfish sheep's head and calicos and sand bass. A bunch of different types of perch.
Mm-hmm.
They have corvina. I've seen yellowtail in there. I mean, every once in a while you'll get like tuna species coming in
Yeah.
really close. I
Really?
never got to spear any, but and halibut, you'll go and just kind of searching for halibut and stuff. So there's a bunch, and then a bunch of different types of rockfish species
That's
like
cool.
sculpin and
They have
whatnot.
some really
Yeah,
interesting, fishing techniques for those calico bass. I know that a lot of people are crazy about that. Big tournaments and stuff like that.
calicos are a lot of fun.
But in that kelp, I guess is where
Yep.
those are. I've never done it before, but I have a friend that's totally into it.
Yeah, the kelp
Anyway,
patties.
so tell me about LandTrust and what it is and how it kind of got started.
Sure. So yeah, LandTrust is, I'd say, the leading land sharing marketplace for outdoor recreation. So a lot of your listeners are probably familiar with Airbnb or VRBO, which are home sharing. Maybe they've used like some RV sharing sites like Outdoorsy or RV Share. Well, instead of renting somebody's home or RV, you're renting access to somebody's private land on land trust, and it's for hunting access, fishing, shed hunting, RV and camping, just all sorts of outdoor stuff.
That is
Um,
cool. And how
yeah,
long has
so
it been going on?
we just turned 4 at the beginning of this month. So October 2nd of 19, we launched the site. So yeah, a little over 4 years.
Wow. And in 4 years, I mean, I looked on it today, you got like 700 different places in Montana alone. You're making, you're developing a lot of these access. I don't know what you would call an individual experience there. The hunting trips, the fishing, like everything that you were just
Yeah,
talking
just
about, all these different
a
accesses.
lot of access.
What?
Yeah.
How did you get your first one? Like, what was the? Did you just have this idea first, and you thought, well, um, I'm going to make it into an app, or did you kind of how did it develop into what it is today?
Sure. So we talked about, I grew up in Southern California hunting and fishing, so I've always loved to hunt and fish. And I came up to Montana a couple of times in my early teens with my family and did some fly fishing during the summer. It was, Montana's incredible. I'm sure you've been up here with your boys, been up here. Um, so it's a circular answer, but throughout my 20s, I did a lot of advertising and technology sales, and so I didn't get to hunt and fish a lot. I lived in New York and Chicago, Boston, LA, San Francisco, a bunch of different places, and finally in 16, I ended up moving up here to Bozeman at the end of 16, and immediately was kind of confronted with what today is land trust. So, for the folks out there who know, like Montana has a bunch of public land, which is great. You get to go out and enjoy it, and but there's a ton of amazing private land here too, especially in and around town. And I found myself in a situation saying, well, I'd love to have access to that place and I'd be happy to pay for it, the access for a day, a weekend, or whatever it might be. But there's no easy way to do it. Of course, any of the hunters out there listening understand that door knocking has been a thing for a long time. I think door knocking has gotten a lot less fruitful, probably in the recent decade or decades. So yeah, it's I started the company because I wanted to use it. I am a consumer of it.
Mm-hmm. And what's the? I mean, when you go and talk to these landowners, what's the biggest challenge?
Sure. So we've got about 1.25 million acres on the platform in 40 states. We're growing pretty nicely. Most of that 1.25 million acres is owner operator production agriculture landowners. So said another way, these are multi-generation families who farm and ranch. So they've owned that land. A lot of times their family homesteaded it. So the hardest part about in the reticence is this is where they live and work.
Mm-hmm.
And so insurance is a big deal. We handle insurance in a few different ways. Just that trust factor, like trust is in our name because, without trust, this thing doesn't work. Like good old fashioned trust. Like I
Right.
trust that the people coming out are going to be respectful, and you trust that the people hosting you are going to be, great hosts.
And what about the first ones? Like was
Mm-hmm.
when you don't, I mean, now you got 1 million acres on the property, they can go and right away you can show it to them on their phone or whatever. Like
Right.
this is who we are and this is what we do. It seems like things would be getting slightly easier,
For sure.
at least for an introductory. But when you show up and you don't have the website built, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
how was that like in the very beginning? Like people are
Very
like, do you
tough.
want to do what?
Yeah, I remember distinctly people telling me all the time, like, no farmer rancher's ever going to do this. Yeah, I mean, look, especially, so this is a two-sided marketplace. Obviously, there are supply, landowners, and demand, people who love the outdoors. Two-sided marketplaces are notoriously difficult to get going because of the thing you just pointed out. The buyers don't want to be there unless they're sellers, and the sellers don't want to be there unless they're buyers. You have that chicken and the egg
Mm-hmm.
kind of conundrum. So every marketplace faces this. So look, we beg, borrow, steal to try and get our first landowners to get on the platform. We were, scouring Craigslist and Facebook groups and, hunting forums. And funny enough, we really kind of launched the business off of a farmer in southern New Jersey, of all places. We just been scouring the internet trying to find landowners, and he's a younger guy, and he's like, yeah, he had like, I don't know, 7 to 10 different farms in this one area of southern New Jersey, anywhere from like 40 to 100 acres, nothing huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, yeah, I'll try it. And so we got all those listings built out, and then went to the New Jersey hunting forums and said, hey, we got this cool thing, and there's some cool properties here for whitetails and geese and turkeys, and let us know. So it was and of course we found people on Craigslist and whatnot, but it's interesting. It took us a while to really understand that those farmers and ranchers, like the owner operators, were the right type of landowner for us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other types of landowners who just don't really fit well with us. A lot of the people on Craigslist who were just trying to do hunting leases really weren't kind of a fit for us. A lot of times they just owned the land and didn't have anything to do with it, never saw it, didn't work it. Like it just wasn't the right type of fit.
Right.
So anyways, yeah, that's how stuff got started. Southern New Jersey.
So this southern New Jersey one, it was duck and geese, and I would imagine
And
turkey
deer.
and deer,
Yeah.
and people had success on that on the first
Oh yeah.
season. Yeah. So
Yeah, absolutely. And just for your listeners, this isn't traditional annual leasing. It's you could book something for a day,
yeah,
or a couple days. So it really makes accessing private ground, because look, unless you own it, you're married into it, you get a friend or neighbor, family member who owns ground or whatever. Like accessing private ground is pretty difficult and expensive. So either you buy it, which is obviously the most expensive option, or you do annual leases, which has kind of been the historical thing. But a lot of people can't put down a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars to, lease ground for a year.
yeah.
So with LandTrust, it's those properties. I think they started somewhere between $50 and $80 a day, and so tons of people, tons of hunters in New Jersey booked those properties, and yeah, look. It wasn't like Boone and Crockett deer, but they just wanted a place to go and have to
Yeah.
themselves, and not have to be elbow to elbow on public land with 50 other people.
Right. I think it's fantastic. I mean, this is a great idea. I'm really happy to see that it's working. What about expanding it into different states? Like what has that been good for you or challenging, or how are you doing that?
All the above. Yeah, for the last few years, obviously, Montana is probably our most mature state now. It's where we're headquartered. I'm sitting here in Bozeman. Um, so yeah, an evolution of a marketplace. You kind of, again, beg, borrow, steal to get it going, and try to get past that chicken and the egg. But then you start looking at like, okay, well, we kind of need to drive some density of supply in certain regions. And so then you start looking at it from more of a market-based perspective. So that's what we started to do. Montana, Nebraska, Kansas, we really focused on those markets and building up more and more listings, excuse me. So that way when hunters come and they search for Montana, they don't see like one listing. They see 60 or 80 or whatever. And that was a couple years to start really getting some of these markets a lot of properties on them. And then it's funny, now we're in a different stage where we've got tens of thousands of sportsmen across the country who have accounts with us. And so now we're at a scale where if we turn on a new listing in Maryland, we can just send an email and a text out to our sportsmen who told us they either live in Maryland or are interested in Maryland, and they'll book it right away. So now we're kind of moving back out of the pure market-based approach to nope, let's turn on supply across the country, because now we have enough demand to be able to point it like sniper shot directly at it when it comes on the platform.
That's super cool. And I would assume that you're able to do that for certain species, like somebody's interested in trout fishing or they're only interested in goose hunting. Like,
Yep.
Can they search that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can search by states, you can search by, species or activities. And you go to landtrust.com, the homepage, you'll see like hunting, fishing, RV camping, and then farm and ranch experiences, which kind of is its own category. But and I would encourage yourself and any of the folks listening who this might even be somewhat interesting to, go create a free LandTrust profile. And when you do, we ask you what activities you're interested in. Hey, are you interested in hunting or fishing or RV and camping? And then, like what state do you live in? What states are you interested in? And if you like hunting, like what species are you interested in? And once you tell us that, we're basically scouting 365 days a year for you. So
wow,
every single time we bring a new property on the platform that matches, like, hey, you told me you like, Arkansas and hog hunting, and we have a new Arkansas hog property, you're going to get a text with the property.
that's cool. And what do you think? I mean, I'm sure it's all over the board, but like you mentioned some average costs of like what somebody's paying for this. Like what would a day or a week or I mean, I don't know how you can rent it necessarily.
Yeah, it could be as little as a day. It's up to the landowner, right? So it could be as little as a day, to weeks, to an entire season. So just like on an Airbnb or a VRBO, you can rent anything from a hostel to a castle, right? From $20 a night to $20,000 a night. And I think you're going to see the same on a marketplace like ours. You could go out, and we have guys who are booking small game hunts for $25 a day, or prairie dogs or something like that. And then you've got week long archery elk hunts that could be 15 grand. So it's just it runs the gamut.
Yeah, that's super cool. How about different countries? Are you going to try to expand into different countries? Like you mentioned, the Bahamas. You've gone to the Bahamas a bunch of times. That's a place where when I go down there, you're trying to do it on your own. You're like, it's not that clear if you're on private land or not in some cases, and you certainly don't want to be trespassing. But seems like that might be good, access. Like there's sometimes you just got to access the public land, but you got to go across private land and get there, and then you open up this giant area to you, and I'm sure you have those on your property or your thing too.
Yeah, I think certainly we'll be in multiple continents. We got a lot. I mean, we're still just at the beginning of we're in the second inning here, maybe in the U.S. So there's a ton of business to be built and done here in the U.S. But we've already gotten calls from South America and some other places too. So yes, we absolutely will expand, but it's not like next year. We've got a lot of work to do here in the U.S.
Right. Do you think you have more hunting properties or fishing properties?
Hunting is still the core activity. That's where it's the activity we started with. It's a two-edged sword. I mean, it's the hardest thing to get a landowner to say yes to. It's the hardest thing to insure. But once you can figure those things out, and a landowner says yes to hunting, they say yes to all the other stuff, like fishing or RVing, camping, or so for sure hunting.
What about like that conversation that you're having with the landowner of like trying to figure that out? and they're uncomfortable with it. They're like, you mean there are going to be people like walking around on my property with guns? Like what? I mean, how do you kind of work with the landowner to understand like the type of person that's going to be coming, what they're planning on doing, laying down some ground rules for them? I mean, I'm sure each property has different rules, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So how does all that go down when you're kind of negotiating this?
Yeah. So it's an interesting phrase. So negotiating wouldn't be the right phrase because we're not. I'll be clear. We're not leasing land and
Right.
then subleasing it. So the landowner is directly listing on the platform, and I think it comes down to control. Our landowners retain 100% control. So as opposed to like where if you did an annual lease to a group of guys or if you lease to an outfitter, you sold away a property right for a period of time, and you kind of lost that control and that transparency. Whereas with land trust, you're the one directly listing your property, what activities you want to host. Say your family, you own ground and you guys like hunting whitetails, but you got turkeys and upland birds and ducks, and you don't care about that. So you say, hey, look, we're not going to be listing whitetail, but you can come out in the spring and shoot turkeys or whatever. So you get to choose what you want to offer. Maybe you just want to offer a few doe hunts for whatever, population control. What you want to offer, the rules associated with it, the prices, the availability, um, everything. So the landowner really, I think it's been the biggest attraction for our landowners who, a lot of them understand that their land has value from a hunting and recreation perspective, but again, the only real other outlet before us was leasing,
Mm.
and they would have tried it and like, I don't like losing control of that. So this has been, that's how we kind of have approached that conversation. It's whatever you want, and a lot of them will dip their toes in the water. You don't have to go all in, and like, you can say, hey, cool, we're just going to start with turkey hunting. Turkey hunting, we did more turkey hunts booked through the platform last year than anything else. Um, and it's just like a really easy thing to start with. And then we see, they'll start with one thing and they'll host a handful of people, really like it, and then they'll start building out more.
Yeah. Well, I would say out of all my hunting experience, turkey hunting would be the type of hunting that I would most want private land. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
man, I went on a
Yep.
public land turkey hunt one time, and I mean, as a turkey hunter, you're moving through the woods as quietly as you possibly can. You're completely camouflaged, and like there are other people out there. Like
Yep.
that's kind of scary.
Sketchy.
Like, yeah, it is. It
Sounds
really
sketchy
is. I
for
mean,
sure.
it's kind of sketchy, and when somebody makes a call or whatever, the other person is basically hunting you. If you're a good enough caller,
Yep.
they're coming and they're trying to get close to you until they can figure out that maybe you're not a real turkey. But I
Yeah.
would think that would, I mean, that makes sense that would be the number one. And you don't need a lot of, you could do it
You don't
on
need a lot of ground.
10,
Yeah.
10 acres. I
Yep.
mean, you could have a great turkey hunt there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. And then the turkey, the when I grew up, we didn't really have turkeys in the South. I mean, it was very rare to do that. And 40 years ago, and the turkey has had just this incredible rebound. Such a great
Oh, absolutely.
conservation story, and they're everywhere. I mean, now we've got them in our yard in Tennessee. We've got them like all over the place. Just
Yeah.
turkeys everywhere. So a
Yeah. I think
little,
they're in almost every state and all the lower 48, pretty much everyone, I think. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
and a bunch of different kinds too, with different
Yeah.
styles of hunting. A little bit.
That is that's something that the real kind of rabid turkey hunters love land trust for. We'll see with this last season, we saw guys book 4 or 5 hunts and they'll just do a big loop across the state. So they're
Mm-hmm.
going for their slams and all that. But yeah, it's you mentioned a really good point too that we see a lot of folks using land trust for is, hey, I'm going out by myself on a turkey hunt and you don't want to be in a dangerous situation, or you're bringing your kids out, or first time hunters or new hunters, whatever, and they just want that exclusive access to private ground, which, by the way, does not guarantee. I'm sure you've hunted a ton of private.
Yeah.
It
No.
doesn't guarantee you're successful
By
by any
no
means.
means. By no
Yeah,
means does it.
I have struck out a ton on private, but it does, through booking through LandTrust, guarantee you, hey, you're going to be the only one out there today. You do not have to worry about that piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
Now, do you uh, like, what about like the way that it works with some of these, like an Onyx or something like that,
Mhm.
to where you can see the property boundaries and stuff like that? Do you have that as a part of your platform, or do you use other technology, as well?
Yep. So we partner with Onyx, we partner with HuntWise, and so when you book a place, um, so you can make inquiries with landowner if you're not ready to book straight away. So you can go to LandTrust.com, you find some properties that are cool, find some packages. Oh, this farm has a 3-day spring turkey hunting package. Oh, I like it. I'm seeing photos. I can read about the property. If you still have some questions, you can contact the landowner directly, ask whatever questions you have, and then once you book, we send over kind of your arrival instructions, which is kind of the landowner, like, where's the property, how to get there, landowner's information, phone number, and then, Onyx maps of the property, waypoints, like all that stuff. And same thing with HuntWise. So we'll send you both depending on what, mapping software you use. And so we give you property maps and all that stuff
Wow,
after you book. Mm-hmm.
that's super cool. Have you had like somebody, like you mentioned, the turkey hunters are going and trying to get their slam? Have you had somebody that has done that, like
Oh,
booking
yeah.
through your platform, and they've been successful on all of that stuff?
Well, not the Osceola. So we have a couple of Florida properties that are in the queue coming on, but I mean, they've definitely been very successful on LandTrust, but I can't say they did their whole slam on LandTrust because we don't have
Right.
any properties that have Osceolas right now.
But still, though, that's pretty good, man. Just to be able to book something sight unseen off the internet and go there and have success. That's pretty awesome.
Well, look, I think it also is really because of who our landowners are. I mean, again, these are people who live and work on that land and have probably most of their life or their whole life and maybe a couple generations. So they understand that ground. If you've ever gotten permission from a farmer or rancher to go out and hunt, it's that experience, right? They're like, hey, look, here's the place. Here's the kind of activity we see. In the mornings, we usually see them they're coming out of roost over there, or they're feeding down over here. They give you the lay of the land. So you couldn't have a better person kind of talk to you about that property. It's not just getting access to some nondescript timber property and figuring it
Yeah.
out.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool. So are you do you like to fly fish a lot in the Montana area in the summertime?
I do. I do. Well, I will caveat that by saying I have 3 daughters, 4 years old and younger. So I haven't got to do a lot of it in the last couple of years, but yes, I love
Three
fly
daughters,
fishing.
4 years old and younger. Do you have a set of twins in there?
No,
No,
4, two
just
and a half, and almost a 1 year old next week. Yeah.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's similar to my spread. That'll keep you pretty busy.
And a company. So,
Yeah. Well, your company seems to be growing super
hmm
fast. Like how many? Like you got 4 years under your belt now. You got 1 million acres on the platform.
hmm
Like where else are you going with this? It seems like it's
I mean,
growing pretty fast, but like what's the vision?
yeah, look, we want to be the world's largest land sharing platform. And, for our uh, tens and tens of millions of acres on the platform in the next, let's call it 4 or 5 years. And, the cool thing about the business is, especially because we're partnering with farm and ranch families, this is a great ancillary income stream for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's symbiotic with production agriculture. So it's not like they got to change anything. No, as we all know, farms and ranches are a great place to hunt because they're farms and ranches.
Right.
So it's a great way for them it's real low touch to generate profitable. It's almost pure profitable income for their operations. But yeah, we're getting to connect people who love the outdoors with America's farms and ranches in my perspective, a win-win scenario where you get access to these cool places you would have never had access to before, and they get to generate some income and keep that keep that property profitable and in their family's hands. So, we can continue to do that at scale. We're going to continue to add other types of outdoor recreation, fishing, and we're going to keep growing those categories of fishing and, RVs and camping, and then just farm and ranch experiences.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, the farm and ranch experience. What is that? That seems to be pretty popular. I mean, you listen to Joe Rogan; he's got Joel Salatin on there, and he's got all of these kind of sustainable
mm-hmm.
farmers that are doing things different than monocrop agriculture, and
Yep.
you can go out to some of these farms, and I'm assuming that's what you're offering there. But Tell me
Yep.
about what that looks like.
Yeah, so it's a honestly, I think that category could be as big as the other ones combined. It's still look, we're still learning it. It's very early, but we do have landers who are offering. It's a broad category, so it could be something like hey, it's a calving experience, or come out for branding or planting or harvest, or learn how we do our regenerative grazing programs. Bring the kids out, to interact with livestock and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So it could be a lot of. It's a very broad category, but it's anything that's bringing the consumer, people like you and me, out onto the farm and ranch to learn about, agriculture from the people who actually do it. And
Right.
from my perspective, when we talk to our landowners, our producers, there is no better way to fight the bullshit that is spewed in mainstream media about farmers and ranchers killing the planet than to have the consumer come out, see these beautiful places that they steward. Again, we as hunters know that they do a great job because that's why all the wildlife's there,
Right.
right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to hunt a place that wasn't well stewarded. There would be nothing there. And get to have that direct connection and begin to get educated on what it is. I think in 1900, 40+% of all jobs in the US were agricultural, and now it's 2% or 1.5%.
Right.
So we are so disconnected from
I
agriculture.
know. So disconnected,
Um,
and especially children these days.
yes.
Like, even when I was a kid, we would have a field trip to a local farm because it was
Hmm.
super easy to find a local farm. I don't know
Yep.
where they would take them now.
Yeah.
I don't know where you would go. Like,
Well, LandTrust will fill that gap. So
yeah,
that's where that kind of that farm and ranch category again. It's still really young. And we've got have a lot to learn there, but we have people who are booking that stuff.
I'm sure.
But it's still a young category for us.
Yeah, I think it's a great category. I think that's super cool to get, especially kids out there to just kind of understand, like, oh, this is where our food comes from. Like, because
Yes.
most people have just completely either purposefully disassociated from it and they don't even want to know where their food comes from, or they have
Yeah.
no idea. And you'll have kids that pick up a piece of fruit or a vegetable in the supermarket and they don't even have any idea what it is, what it's called.
Or a package of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny with my daughters. I always ask them what type of animal we're eating when we're eating it. Is it elk? Is it deer? Is it a cow? Is it pigs? Like so that they understand that, yeah, we all obviously we all love animals, but we also eat them. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the nature of this.
Yeah. Well, I love that category. That's super cool. And who knows, man? I mean, you got other things like the shed hunting too. Like
Hmm.
that. I mean, people will scour public land for sheds, and then they're like, man,
Yep.
if I could just get over there, I bet there'd be
Yep.
some awesome ones there. And for the farmer, that's land they're probably not even going there. Like they don't
Yeah,
even.
and guess what? Farmers don't like sheds because
Yeah.
they pop tires.
Yeah.
So they cause a lot of damage for tractor tires and equipment tires.
Yeah. Pick those up. That's cool,
Hmm.
man. That's cool.
Yeah,
So
foraging. We've got people booking foraging for morel mushrooms, and I think regionally you'll see different stuff. Maybe it's snowmobile access, in the colder climates, or ice fishing, and so there'll be these kind of tent pole categories of hunting and fishing, and these. But then I think there'll be some cool regional stuff too that you see.
how did you start to build this out? I mean, you had the idea. And you're like, okay, well, I think there's something here. So what was the next step? You had to build the technology or establish the relationships first.
You have to go back a little further. It's I had to go fundraise.
Yeah.
So it would be, I don't want to say impossible. It would be very hard to bootstrap a marketplace like this, meaning not raise any money and just do it all, on my own dime. Um, and I wasn't in any financial position to self-fund it anyways. Um, so, with the idea, I had worked in early stage startups my whole career. So, Series A funded companies, venture capital backed companies. So, as the idea kind of coalesced, and I thought about it for a year and a half. When I first thought about the idea, I didn't go do it right away. I was still working another job and just kind of letting it simmer, I guess. But yeah, once the switch flipped, it was like, all right, well, I got to build a deck, like a pitch deck, and really start to kind of distill the idea of what I'm trying to do here, and pitch some investors. So that started in earnest in November of 18. And then the first investor checks in the company came in June of 19. And I went full time, left a very good paying consulting gig July 1st of 19, 1 month before my first daughter was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I love to hear about people's journey to that decision. Like you mentioned, the moment when you kind of flip the switch and you're like, okay, I'm going to need to build a deck. I'm going to need to do all this stuff. Like, what was that like? I mean, I had to do the same thing with our company Waypoint that we have, and it's like, at some point you get to a place to where you're like, you know what, this has actually got legs. And we're either just going to have this thing as a simmering thought in the back of our mind for the rest of our lives, or let's do it. Like, what was that like? What was the kind of straw that broke the camel's back for you to actually get started on that?
Yeah. It just got to the point where I couldn't not do it.
Yeah.
And I think, I've been invited to speak to the business school here at MSU, and I've spoken to some of the kids in entrepreneurship courses. And that's my advice is don't start a company unless you can't not do that thing. Because it's really hard. It's not sexy and fun. And, I think media has made it this, like, I don't know, they've glorified it a little bit. It's just a lot of hard work and over a long, like many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And, if I didn't truly, like, I wanted to use the product, I was a customer. So if I didn't truly have a direct connection to this thing, if I wasn't passionate about both sides of this marketplace, like, it's too hard. I would just give up. It's actually, starting a company is a pretty crappy way to make money. As far as like a salary goes, I made a lot more money before I started this company doing other stuff. Now you do it in hopes that, hey, over the long term, you build a valuable business and you have a good outcome. But I don't know, the 5 to 10 years that takes to build is a long time.
Yeah.
So for me, it just got to the point where I said, we fiddled around with it. It just been there and eating away at the back of my mind. I said, all right, well, the time is now. Like, I've got to try it. I don't want to be 60, 70 years old and like, shit, I should have tried that thing.
Yeah. I mean, that avoidance of regret is a powerful motivator for some people, not for others though. I mean, not everybody has that. I don't think. Like, some people are like,
no,
it's a pretty good idea, but I don't know. Like, maybe they're even more like the fear of failure, or I don't know, the fear of change might be more
risk
powerful.
Averse.
Yeah, they might be more powerful than the the person that is like, man, I just don't want to regret it. I'd rather go out there and do this thing and fail miserably and just know, okay, well,
I gave it my best try.
Yeah. That is funny. Like the advice that you're giving kids, basically don't start a business unless you absolutely just cannot live without doing this. That's pretty good advice, because the entrepreneurship, like you say, is built up as like this thing that you should probably consider. But there's that Elon Musk quote. He's something like, it's like chewing on glass and staring into the abyss most days and most times. I know exactly what that feels like. Everything that we've ever done and built has been basically entrepreneurial. But I don't know any other way to do it. Like, I'd probably be a terrible employee for someone.
You probably, I mean, you probably would be. I probably would be, because it's like, hey, I want to own my own destiny, and I'm comfortable. This is the thing that I think it's really important for people who are looking at starting a company. It's like, it's sexy to own your own destiny. The unsexy part is that you're taking all the risk.
Yeah.
So when you go to work for somebody else and you get a W-2 paycheck, they've taken a ton of risk off the table for you, and that should not be discounted. So, I mean, shoot, man, it's hard. And entrepreneurship doesn't have to be, am I trying to build $1 billion+ company right now? Yes, I am. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
You can start a services business tomorrow. You can start a cleaning company in your hometown. Like that's starting a business too, and that's entrepreneurship.
Being a
And
fishing
it's a
guide,
lot.
being a hunting
Yeah, being a
guide.
fishing guide, and it's a lot more achievable. Like the success rate is a much higher success rate than what I'm trying to build here.
Hmm.
The outcomes are different, but there's a lot less risk there.
Yeah, but the similarities are that when you decide to do your own business, whether you're going to be a fishing guide or try to build $1 billion company, you're saying, well, I don't really want to work for somebody else because I don't want them to necessarily dictate my schedule. But when you go and you own your own company, now you're working all the time, so you don't have
Yeah,
there
100% of
is
the time.
no there is no opportunity to dictate your schedule. It's work all the time, and it may look
Yes.
different than other people's work. Like you could be at the coffee shop or you could be dressed in
Yeah.
shorts and a t-shirt, but dude, your mind is going all the time, and it's for the right person, it's great.
Yeah.
But for the wrong person, like if you were looking for sh- smaller work hours, shorter work weeks,
This is not
man,
it.
you know,
This is
not even being
not
a
it.
fishing guide is it. Like it's like
No.
nobody is going to be a harsher critic on you than yourself. For the right person, right? Like some
Yeah,
people
totally.
might not. It might not be the entrepreneur. You might, like they always say, you got the entrepreneurial spirit or you don't, right? And some
Yep.
people, it's fine. That's cool if that's not it. But the person that does it, like you, I'm sure you're a very harsh critic of yourself. You want this company
Oh
to
yeah.
be perfect, and you're willing to put in whatever time it takes to get there, which is probably more time than anyone would expect or hope that you would give it. And that's why companies like yours are successful, is that you know someone is putting in way more than anyone would have expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I am absolutely I am our product's harshest critic. Like I hate our product. I don't hate it. I like it, but it is nowhere near where it should be. And I mean, I think sitting in your seat too, I'm sure there's 20 things that you wish you could wave a magic wand and change
Oh
right now about
yeah.
about the business and the
Yeah, and
product.
the
And
funny thing is like when you change this in a tech business, and I can't even
yes.
begin to think about yours, but in ours anyway, is it like we were always trying to put a search bar in, but it was
Mm.
it was like that should be the easiest thing, man. You can get on,
Yeah, can't you
you can,
just do this,
yeah.
engineers?
It seems so easy. It's like, yeah, it would have been easy if we had built that in at the beginning,
Hmm.
but now to go
Yep.
back is like not so easy.
Rechange your
It's like, oh
architecture
man,
and yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, fun fact for the folks out there: never tell your engineers that that should be easy. It's not a way to make them happy people. But
Well, I think it's super cool what you got going, and I think I'm going to be a consumer, a user of this thing, because like like one of the things that I like to do is to, like, with my wife and family, sometimes we'll do an RV trip, and like I
hmm
noticed on your thing, I'm not really down with RVing. I don't know. I haven't really figured out like what the difference is between an RV resort and an RV campground and an RV park and all these other things. And sometimes we show up and like we think we're going to be kind of out in the woods a little bit, and you
Yeah.
show up and people have got like decks built around their RVs, and
Yes.
it's like, okay,
They're living there.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they're
living
there.
there. They
They
got
got their
8
golf cart.
dogs. They hadn't
Yeah.
moved, and that's fine. But that
Yeah.
wasn't the experience that I thought we were going to get. And so like I would be more like, I'd like to boondock out there. Just
Yep.
go out there and put the RV there, and you got this whole place. Maybe you could fish a little, or maybe you can come and go as you please. But I mean, I think that's a market
And a
too.
beautiful farm or ranch, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're building that product out as well. I mean, this I killed my first turkey this last spring. I was out with one of the guys who we work with. Um, John Dudley is.
Yeah.
He does knock on. Yeah. So
Yeah.
John, we were down there with him in Missouri, just about a mile south of the Iowa border. But that property was amazing, right? The property owner's sister had actually just bought a travel trailer. He's like, "Hey, I didn't have lodging before, but if you want, you could stay in there." We stayed in a beautiful travel trailer, like camper, and John brought his down, and we camped on the property. He had 7 ponds on there, turkeys everywhere. I killed my first bird, but I don't know if you know, in Missouri, you can't hunt in the afternoon. You can't hunt after 1 p.m.
Oh, really?
We didn't know. Yeah, we didn't know that coming down, so our hunts got cut in half. But it was okay because we went and just caught a bunch of bass and stuff
Yeah.
at the
7 ponds. That
ponds and
sounds pretty
barbecued.
good.
Yeah. So, and the landowner is awesome. He's a farmer. He grows Wagyu beef, which is even cooler because then we got to eat Wagyu beef. And so, like, that's, you could go book that in the spring and like hunt a turkey and catch some fish and eat some steaks.
How do you get
I don't
Dudley
know.
to come down there and show you how to shoot better?
Oh,
Is that
well,
an
I brought a
extra? That's
shotgun.
going to be an
I
extra
brought a
charge.
shotgun. Yeah. I said, like, I've never killed a turkey. I've been on a bunch of turkey hunts and I've seen a lot of turkeys with a tag in my pocket, but I've never gotten to kill one. Um, I wasn't going to mess around.
But you got one
Yeah, I
on
brought a
that trip.
shotgun. I brought a shotgun.
That's
So
cool.
I shot my bird. We had a crazy, like, hurricane level storm come through the night before. And Dad was like, "Hey, my uncle always said after a storm like that, just walk a timber road." And we did that. Saw some toms, belly crawled to him. I think I shot my bird at like 62 yards, just dropped him.
Wow, 62. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to take a chance with a bow. I'm not good enough with a bow.
Yeah.
Like, like if I get a shot, I want to kill a
Well,
bird.
I mean, that's the kind of the evolution of. I mean, so many
Yeah.
times, like in my world, it's permit fishing with a fly rod. People want to do
Mm,
that, or even bonefish or whatever. But a lot of people jump right from trout fishing to permit fishing with a fly rod, and it's like, man, if you had
yeah.
just caught like a couple on a spinning rod, you would
Right.
have caught one on a fly rod way faster because you would have the success, and then you could build on that success, and you would have more confidence, and then you could catch them on fly. But it's not like they're super easy. Just like a turkey, it's not like it's super easy to kill a turkey
No,
with a shotgun. Still, everything has to come. It
totally.
has to be working right. So to downplay that and say, well, I didn't kill it with a bow. It's like, well, yeah, but maybe you will next time, or I don't know, maybe you don't
Oh
even
yeah.
want to. Like
By the
turkey
way,
hunting
yeah,
is
like
a
I don't buy into all the I don't buy into all the factions within hunting.
yeah,
I
no,
like
I don't,
every type of hunting and fishing I've ever tried.
I,
Like I could be stink bait for catfish or fly fishing for
I'm
tarpon or
with you.
bones. Like it's cool.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I don't get into the infighting amongst the
No,
groups. Like
yeah,
fly fishermen hate bait fishermen, and bait fishermen don't like whoever. I don't know.
yeah.
We all need to get along.
They make fun of me in the office because I'll pull a panther martin out on the rivers up here and I'll go head to head. I'm like, all right, you guys want to? I want to catch fish today. I have a very short amount of time. you know, Especially with kids, like
Yes.
if I get for an hour to go fishing, I'm just gonna take a spinning rod with the Panther Martin. Like I'm not gonna go do my whole setup and like, fly around. It's less time efficient.
Yeah.
And I have just as much fun catching 10 fish on Panther Martin than I would, like the otherwise. I like it all, but I also am not shy about up here. It's like, oh, you conventional fish. Like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, well, some people told me when I moved down to Key West that I'd rather catch 10 I'd rather catch one fish on a fly than 10 fish when they were talking about permit or bonefish. Either one,
Mm,
permit or
yeah, yeah.
bonefish. I'd rather catch one on fly than 10 on bait. But I was like, I don't know. I've never caught 10 on bait. That kind of sounds fun. And
That
so
sounds kind of
you go
fun,
out there
yeah.
and you throw 10, when you actually catch 10 on a live crab,
Pretty
you're
fun
like,
day.
damn, that was the
Pretty,
best day I've ever
yeah,
had. 10 on bait
yeah,
turns out to be way more fun than one on
yeah.
fly,
Kicked
in my
out.
opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
in
for
my
sure.
opinion, like but everybody has their different ways that they like to go about it. And that's cool. That's why we have all the different tackle and the different places. And to your place, to what you do, like you can go and book all these different places that are really tailored for one thing over another. Like this is a perfect place to archery deer hunt, or this is a perfect place to turkey hunt, or this is how you get the fly fishing access for this particular species. I think it's super
Yeah,
cool, man. So how do people find out about LandTrust more? Go there,
sure.
set up an account. What do they do?
Yep. So it's pretty simple. You go to landtrust.com. You can kind of browse the site. It should look and feel familiar if you've ever used other sites like an Airbnb or whatnot. So you can search, check out properties, do all that. You can follow us on Instagram, landtrust underscore hunt. And so we'll, keep you up to date. But as I mentioned, just take 1 minute and create a free account. Like if this is again at all interesting to you, even in a little bit, just create a free account. Tell us what you like, and then we're out there scouting 365 days a year for you. We're adding tens of thousands of acres, a week. So we're going to find stuff that's interesting to you.
Now, are you doing all that from Bozeman? Like your team is all in Bozeman and you're making these calls to the different states, or do you have people all over the country that are kind of looking for you?
So we do have what we call landowner success managers. And so we've got, and those are people who are kind of boots on the ground in different states. So we've got a couple here in Montana. We have one in North Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa. So that's some cover multiple states. So we do have boots on the ground that do go out and visit a lot of these properties and talk to the landowners and do that as well.
Mm-hmm. What about like we probably have people that are listening right now that have property all over the place that might want to lease it or use LandTrust, rent it out. How would they go about doing that?
Yeah, for sure. So again, landtrust.com, you'll see when you go to the homepage, you'll see like a little for landowners button on the top. And that page is kind of like, we've got a bunch of video testimonials from landowners who've been with us for years. It kind of breaks down the whole thing. If it's interesting, by the way, there's a phone number on the site. So you can, just either call or text us. We're real live people here. There's no AI, answering you with a chat bot or something like that. And just for people listening, the number is 406-709-8450. You can call us or text us at that number. And you'll get a person on the team and they'll happy to answer any questions that you have. And as a landowner, you can build it yourself. We have plenty of landowners who build their own listings and it takes, 15, 20 minutes, or our team's happy to build it for you. So they'll just talk to you and they'll build it out as you guys talk and get you up and going. So we try to make it as simple as possible for landowners to get up and running.
That's super cool, man. I love the concept. Love it that you got it going and it's working. It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. So if you're interested, go check that out. LandTrust.com or .org? .com?
.com. No. We are for profit.
For profit.
Or nonprofit.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, good luck.
Not to be confused with like conservation easements and that stuff. Those are the .orgs.
Right. Right. So landtrust.com. That's the place. And get ready to pull your wallet out because you're getting ready to spend some money. That's
yeah. And I get speaking of, hopefully Turner doesn't charge me, but he did invite me to go shoot ducks at his place if the weather got colder.
Oh yeah. So. Well, he's got a nice little spring pond down there. I think you might want to go on the first one because I believe that the neighbors are going to complain. So I would
a little close.
I would get the first hunt. Like ask him when the first day he's going to hunt and then go there and make it quick. It's pretty close. There's no doubt that it's going to be loaded, I think. But
as soon as it freezes up here, those spring creeks, they pile in.
It's so cool, man. That's it. But he's got a great place out there with all the horses and it's just got a lot of land. It's nice. It's really cool out there. But anyway, Nic, it was great meet with you today, and congratulations on where you are in this entrepreneurial journey, man. It's tough, but you're doing great with it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, just a few more years till overnight success.
That's right. All right. We'll see you next week with another guest like Nic, and that's it for this week. See ya.